there's so many extras in the game, from having an orchard in your backyard that you're growing fruit, to raising golems, to raising monsters as pets.
You can do weapons and armor where you're like forging and improving them,
that part's sick
harvesting materials.
And then instruments.
That's a podcast in itself.
Welcome to New Game Plus. This is a retro gaming podcast where three guys spend 7 days playing one old game and then we talk about it. My name's Dustin.
My name is Kenny.
Nolan here.
And this is episode 402, and it is a director's episode!
Hey.
Question of the week: what game do you hate that everyone else loves?
Rocket League. I despise that game. I don't like the developers. I don't know them, but they made the game exist. I don't like the players. I don't like the community. I think the game's trash.
Nolan is what we call a salty gamer. And some games bring the salt out of people worse than others. And that one brings it out.
Unfortunately, it was about an hour ago when we lost multiple games in a row. And so I think this is fresh.
Oh, well, it's sure, but it's always fresh. That's my answer forever until another game sucks worse.
He does have this love-hate relationship. I need everybody to know that there's part of him. It's masochistic. Like, he comes back to it and kind of enjoys it, but hates whether he wins or loses.
Yes, I had to reinstall it today to play with you, and I have uninstalled it again already.
You've uninstalled and reinstalled so many times.
Okay,
it's
I don't love
unreal.
it. Don't say love, hate.
I
It's
know
hate,
you.
hate.
I'll say that you don't love the game. Yeah, sure.
I try to love all of the games, but I can't get into Grand Theft Auto.
Ooh,
It's a super well-loved franchise.
Makes sense for you.
Like, huge
But
fan
you hate
base.
You love
it?
chess and Minesweeper.
I look the part today, maybe a little bit, but I play Minesweeper and chess and, like old Windows pinball and get really into it. Like, Grand Theft Auto is not my scene.
I think that's a great answer, and I also think it makes sense for you.
I agree.
it does, but hate's strong.
Well, hate is strong here regardless. Yeah. There's very few games, if
know.
any, especially that people love, that I hate, right? Like, that's a lot of emotion to put towards a game that I just don't want to play.
There are games I hate, but only games that are, like, just
Other
bad.
people also hate them.
Like everybody
nothing
hates
that's
it.
loved. And so of games that are popular, that was the only answer I could come up with.
The reason why I even
How about you?
thought of this question is because of last week's discussion that made a lot in our community angry when I didn't have fond things to say about Kirby. And
Oh.
Okay, you got a little flack.
no, I don't want to continue that, but I'll bring on the ire of other people.
Nobody gave me a hard time, and I said Kirby sucks, and they all understood
Because it was a stupid joke.
It was, and I get to tell it again. Dustin, tell me a game that you don't like that everybody else enjoys.
Almost all Sonic games.
Oh, that's a kind of hot take that I might be in the boat with you.
It's not a hot take. Sega's screwed us over, all right?
Well, see, I'm not even saying that. Even the original Sonics, I get it.
No, don't say
See,
that.
I get why people would like it, but I want to take my time and enjoy things, and that's the opposite of what Sonic is all about.
Well,
you want to go slow?
Yes.
I'm sure other people have crazy opinions, though. If you have a response to question of the week, a game you love that you hate that everybody else loves, I almost did it backwards. Drop in our Discord. We got a channel specifically to hash this out. Tell us we're wrong. Tell us why we should love the games we hate, and vice versa. Love to see you there.
And any of you can join us there. It doesn't matter who you are, a boy, a girl, a man, a woman. Come choose your own adventure with us. Like in our retro game of the week, Legend of Mana.
Overview.
First things first, we'd like to welcome Siegfried to the show. Woo!
Welcome.
So glad that you are here. Siegfried, take a moment and introduce yourself to our community. How you found out about New Game Plus, how long you've been listening. Give any information that you'd like. We are so glad that you're here.
Like I started listening around the beginning of this year. I've been a gamer since longer than I can remember. I guess according to my dad's friends, I was gaming before I could really walk straight.
Good. Priorities.
Yep.
Do you remember any of the earliest games that like got you into gaming or caused you to
That's a
love
fun
it
question.
all the more?
Well, I still have my copy of Mega Man 1.
Nice.
That'll do
Uh,
it. That one will do
The
it.
first,
Yeah, that'll do it.
the first games I have memories of playing are Missile Command on my dad's Atari 2600.
Ooh.
Nice.
Dang, your dad had
You-
an Atari 2600?
Could have selected any game for us to play for this last week for your special director episode. You chose this one for the PlayStation, right in my era of gaming, a genre that is very adjacent to my genre of gaming, and on a console that is my console of gaming and of choice from back in the day. So why did you specifically lean towards Legend of Mana as the game that you brought to us?
Well, it's like there's a handful of older games out there that I've spent way too much time playing, and quite a few of them you guys have already played. So I
Played a
picked
lot.
the one that I have like the most nostalgic memories of. I played a friend in college introduced it to me, and a month later I was like telling him other things about the game that he didn't know about.
Oh yeah,
Just
You
full on
dove in-
addict.
Dove
Yeah.
in hard. You heard it here first from Siegfried that if you want to talk with us about your favorite game, you better get on it quickly because we've already done 400
Yeah,
games.
that's true.
That's true.
You're running out of
We're gonna
options.
we're gonna be out of games. We'll have played all of them.
Yeah.
In just like a couple weeks.
End of the show. Yeah.
I don't know if that's how math works.
Legend of Mana for the PlayStation 1 is an action RPG, an ARPG. Came out in 1999 and it was developed by Square.
Hey.
This is the fourth Mana game that came out, and it's the one that came after Seiken Densetsu 3, which is a title we have played on the show and we all really loved. And so I was excited to get to revisit this series. To this day, well, not now, but Seiken Densetsu 3 was still the only one I had played, even though I think Secret of Mana is like the popular one that everyone like really loves in the West.
But it's not the only one you played because you did play the very first one.
That's
'cause We
right.
played it all together because it was Final Fantasy Adventure.
Right.
Which was
That
the first
also
Seiken
is-
Densetsu.
Weird.
Yeah.
This series just has such a weird timeline, and it's even had a re-release this year.
Are you
Year
talking about
before?
of Legend of Mana?
Yeah.
2021 was the remake
Okay.
version.
So
But
recent.
still,
Yeah, a
recent.
few years
Sure.
ago.
Fun-
Wasn't it
Go ahead.
this year that they had Trial of Mana?
Trial of
Yeah,
Mana.
They're doing the whole.
Yeah.
It seems like they're doing them all.
I think so. And I mean, fans are super stoked about that, and I'm happy that they're doing that because I think a lot of people miss these games. I mean, we did.
Yeah.
Fun fact with this game, the director, Koichi Ishii, ended up being producer for a lot of the recent Nintendo remakes, including Link's Awakening and Majora's Mask 3D on the 3DS. I was like, huh? That's kind of a change of pace there.
There's Ichi is phenomenal, by the way. He is the creator of the Chocobo and the Moogle.
Oh. Okay, so
Legend.
legend.
Absolutely
Of Mana.
legendary. He and worked early, of course, on the Final Fantasy series. And when Saga and Final Fantasy kind of split and branched off, he went the Saga route and led that, which is
Right.
amazing.
Yeah.
But also other people that worked on this team as well. I actually dove in deep this week on finding old interviews and stuff like that from team members.
Yeah.
The battle designer in this game actually was one of the directors on Final Fantasy 16 recently, on Final
Oh,
Fantasy
gosh.
5, a battle designer earlier for Final Fantasy 5 and graphic designer. Just a lot
Wow.
of them had different work. I mean, they were in Square, so they had different hands on different projects along the
Yeah.
timeline.
lot of crossover from those guys just over the years. I love to hear that he's still like in the game. I called this an ARPG, and it is, but this game also ventures into uncharted territory, especially for the time, for an RPG by allowing the player to be a part of the storytelling part of it. And I won't spoil much here, as it's the majority of the gameplay that we'll talk about, but the player is helping tell this story versus being spoon-fed the typical like angsty teenager, go get the crystal, save the world story. So that's kind of
wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that, but that's what we were getting right at the time.
Dustin got his feelings a little hurt just by the implication.
You play as an unnamed character, no doubt playing into that whole like choose your own adventure thing, whether it works or not. I know that we always have issues when they don't name the character for you. I did this week. I was like, come on.
I kind of just don't love silent protagonists, like people that are just blank slates for you, the gamer, to be. No, I want a real character. I don't.
Sure.
Kenny created his boy character because you have boy or girl option and put Kenny.
That's classic.
I most certainly did not.
I don't want that.
Same. Anyways, you're an unnamed character in this case, and this character has decided to restore the land of Fadiel? Siegfried, am I right?
I'm not entirely sure.
Fadiel, to its former glory. Most of the land has been sealed away into these artifacts that, that were, because the mana tree, which is the source of all life in this game, burned up. And wars began to try and harness the leftover powers, and now you, this character, are telling your own story, trying to rebuild the world that once was.
I'm pretty sure it's Fadiel.
That's what I said.
You're close.
What'd I say?
I don't know, but
Fadiel.
Oh, God.
I didn't say that. You're insane.
You
I know I
butcher it
didn't say
bad.
that.
Gameplay.
I think there's two different routes to take. We should do them both. And
Only two?
There's a lot of routes you can take.
I think there are two routes. We should do one at a time, and we should go micro to macro. This is what I mean by that. After Kenny has his hand raised, so he talks
No,
first.
go ahead. No, go ahead. It's good.
I
You got a whole map charted out for where you want us to go, so just do it.
the best thing to do with Kenny's puns are to ignore them. I'm going to zoom in on what you're doing at the beginning of this game. You are a boy. You choose boy or girl, as Nolan kind of already outlined. They kind of look identical. They've got long hair. They're very, anime-esque looking, very particular art style, which we'll talk about later. And then you choose a name for your silent protagonist, Kenny or otherwise. Then you surprisingly choose from nearly a dozen starting weapons. That instantly caught my attention.
Yeah, very cool. They usually don't give you that choice.
We're going around and hearing what everybody got. Nolan?
Two-handed sword.
Kenny?
Dark Souls.
Gloves.
You got gloves.
That's fine. I love doing something
shaming.
so different. Glove shaming. Siegfried, what did you go with? Or well, hold on. You've played this probably a few times. How about you just name one that you typically go with?
I generally end up going with the flail, mostly because it's the easiest to get all the plunge attacks on.
Okay.
Oh, that's a nice little bit of info.
And I'm your basic boy. I did one-handed sword. And yeah, did
boring.
Okay, gloves. I'm glove shaming as well.
Gloves are
that's embarrassing. What, fingerless gloves? Okay, you're edgy. Well,
I mean, if we want to get technical, I didn't use the weapon a lot because all of my bumper buttons were all magical instruments.
Yeah, tend to play a magical character, not a melee type. Yeah.
The fact that you can do that.
I don't even know how many instruments I made in the last week.
Oh wow, that's a whole nother fun element we'll talk about. After you select your weapon, it starts to get weird because you were given an artifact that is called home or something to the effect. And then you're shown this big open grid-like map that's vast, water and land spread throughout. And you select a quadrant and drop your home token onto that bursts into a little home life, and that is then where your home is for the rest of the game.
weird.
which
Yeah, it's crazy.
sets up the rest of the game, which now I'm zooming out, where you gather artifacts, that's what the game calls them, throughout your adventures, and place them on your overworld map wherever you want. There's restrictions, and it's got to be around recently placed tiles, but you place it down. Imagine a board game.
This is a board game, yes.
Yeah, this is like a top-down on a map, place a piece, and that is where that new location is. And so many things, we won't even know all of them. Maybe Siegfried has some kind of wisdom for us, but it matters where you place those based on mana elementals, based on proximity to other locations, based on when you place them, based on if you even place them at all. But those are then become the new locations that you move to on this overworld, and you meet new characters, get into battles, visit shops, complete tasks and missions, more like the traditional side of things. But the way that you get there, very untraditional.
Yeah, super wide open.
And right off the bat, this game does not explain enough of the underlying mechanics. Straight up. Like, I got lost right away. While impressed with what was going on, I was lost right away, and I feel like that's 100% fixable. Just by telling you a little more of what is going on. Because it's 99, and there are how many JRPGs that did it the same way?
They could have done a little more hand-holding.
Yeah.
But they also probably assumed you had a little booklet.
Possibly.
But also, I will posit that JRPGs are often convoluted at the beginning.
Yeah. And part of what they're wanting you to do is to discover and like figure some of this stuff out and have the moment of like, oh, that's super cool, and like get that reward. So I don't know that I felt it needed as much extra help on that front.
Siegfried, is there a like optimal starting location, or is it literally open? Okay, where you think you know?
So I wouldn't know if there's like necessarily an optimal place to like start out, but I know you kind of want to be. I don't think. Well, I've never been specific about where I place everything. I just kind of generally want to get like the elemental values of certain areas high enough so I can, cause like there's certain pets I like to try and catch and stuff, and getting the spirits to get all their coins and whatnot.
See, like even that is over our heads to some degree, I would imagine, because like that requires some kind of knowledge and math.
Absolutely. Well, and like depths of content that is like layers deep.
Well,
like
the way that they, at least to my understanding, the way they kind of keep players, because the crazy thing is we certainly all had different experiences this game, or routes.
We all started with different weapons. I mean, like we did almost everything different.
Yes. And the way that they kind of keep everyone on track with the game, because it has to have a beginning and an end, is it has distinct arcs, story arcs that you go through. And in those arcs, obviously the choices will be different, and there are different events, which, I mean, they call them events, I'm calling them quests, that happen. And it's actually kind of really impressive because of the many different possibilities they had to account for while keeping people progressing through the game.
I know somebody, one of you, I don't know who, but said it was kind of like a choose your own adventure book. I think that works so well as an analogy for me. And you get chapters of, like meet a character, solve a bunch of related stuff, or go to a specific area and like figure some things out. I'm sure over time there's more depth there and things get more complex with like bigger story, but I don't think there's a huge overarching like narrative relative to most games in this genre.
Yeah.
What Nolan said is key. There are three quote unquote main quest arcs. You've got the Jumi arc, you've got the Lark and Sierra arc, and you've got the Matilda and Irwin arc. Struggled to say that. But you might not even know that is one of the main arcs, because it just presents itself like any other story that's going on. It just maybe is a little bit more, I don't know, JRPG like when you get into these. A little, maybe there's a few more characters or a little bit more drama or something, but you might not even know that you're in one of those arcs. And in my experience, I didn't even get to the first part of the Jumi arc, or really into the Jumi arc, until a couple of hours in, because I'm just doing random events that feel like side quests at the time.
Yeah. I mean, they kind of are.
They kind of are. Siegfried, I want to know your history with the game a little bit. Is this a game you played as a kid? Did it make sense to you as a kid? Were you able to figure out all the different, or when you played it, were you able to figure out these systems? Were you aware of the 3 arcs? If so, which one was your favorite? Just some of those. I know that's a lot of questions.
So as far as the game goes, I couldn't really tell you much about the actual story.
Yeah,
Mostly
interesting.
And it's not because the story itself is bad. It's just I've never played games for the story. I've always played games for the game and the mechanics.
Then no wonder this game is for you.
Yeah, but here's the thing though. Like, that's fine, but even if you do play this game for the story, you're not going to get the same amount that you get from the other JRPGs that you've played. You just won't.
And also, I believe I'm pretty sure one of the reasons my friend introduced me to it, this was, I think it was 2002 when he introduced it to me, and I was already in my second year of college, I think.
So you had some time.
Well, yeah, well, and also at that time I was a lot younger and didn't sleep nearly as much.
Yeah, right.
Yes,
no,
same.
So,
but I've always been the type of gamer where like the reason I'm pretty sure the reason he introduced it to me was because he knew I'm the type of person who, like, I don't read any manuals. I just start the game and just keep going and figure it all out.
Jump in and explore.
Which
That's
is
how
interesting.
They wanted people to play.
Because they did, and they wanted you to play it multiple times with different experiences each and every time. But what's interesting, you saying that, even I think you and many in our community, but I think you also said, hey, maybe it would help to play along with the guide this week. So like, even that, like, if you want to experience it, particularly in a short window like we have to, that a guide is probably going to help you, or you might just be meandering and find yourself, I don't know about lost, but not going anywhere fast.
Yeah, slow.
I know if you... Because I know in the past there's been a few of like there's stuff you can do in the underworld, and if you do things in the wrong order, you end up getting yourself blocked off from the underworld. So I knew that there's ways to kind of
soft lock you out
things.
of yeah.
Oh, that's
yeah. I didn't want anybody to get messed up.
Well, even that's one of the later arcs, or latest arcs. So that would have been, for me, I don't know, 10, 15 hours or so. It's not the longest game. I think you can... Okay, so there are nearly 70 events or missions, sequences, whatever you want to call them, that can be completed in a variety of orders. And I heard this week that you can complete like a minimum of was it 15? And actually get an end screen. Now, it's not going to be the best end screen.
Okay.
And you have to kind of know that order to actually fall into it.
Yeah.
But I was trying to maximize my experience, so I was doing like every side thing I could imagine until I needed to further the story a little bit more. But this story thing, I think we should focus on a little bit, because it's not... we can't stress enough. It's not the cohesive beginning, middle, end story. Even these 3 arcs are, from my understanding, unrelated to one another,
right?
Other than it's returning mana. Like, the big thing is the mana tree's dead, and you're returning like mana back to it. That's kind of like the big thing, and that's the conclusion. But that's passive in what each of these different stories are taking you through.
One of the experimentation doesn't stop necessarily with the story. They did a lot of things, and one of them is in the battle system. And I hesitate to call the system itself experimental. It's just unexpected for a JRPG, and that's why I think they call this an action RPG, is because of the battle system here. And Siegfried, I would imagine this is one of the things that drew you to the game, to keep you engaged because you don't play for story. But you're gonna call me crazy for this, but this battle system has a deeply arcade feel to it, like Streets of Rage.
I'm not calling you crazy at all.
I can definitely see it.
Yeah. So instead of your turn-based battles, which was very popular from Square, at the time. You have kind of open-ended, move your character around, swing, kind of hack and slash style play with many different skills and stuff that you can implement into the game. But at its core, you're not taking turns, you're not waiting around, you're just going and bashing things with your weapon that you chose.
You're walking all over the screen and fighting. It's almost more like a brawler, or like you said, like a hack and slash.
That's why I said Streets of Rage. Like it made me think of that. And then also Chain of Memories, the Kingdom Hearts game y'all haven't played, has a similar. They have a card thing going on as well, but it's the same presentation. It's just
it's Seiken Densetsu. That's what the series is. It's not this breakaway kind of turn-based thing. It's action.
Seiken did do that.
Yeah. You remember? We got to play that together, the three of us.
Out of curiosity, like, did anybody do any or catch any pets or make a golem?
So yeah, well, okay, let's do that, and then we'll come back to the battle system because there's a lot to talk there. But there are so many extras. So
there's tons.
What's interesting to me, because Siegfried, you've mentioned it, and now you're bringing us back to it. This stuff seems to be your favorite part of the game, when you can play this game and not even do these things that you're mentioning. So like, there's so many extras in the game, from having an orchard in your backyard that you're growing fruit, to raising golems, to raising monsters as pets.
You can do weapons and armor where you're like forging and improving them, harvesting materials.
And then instruments.
That's a podcast in itself.
Right. There's no way we can talk about all of those. I will say, because I think you asked about the pets in particular, that I got a little rabid and let it graze and brought it along with me in battles.
Did you by chance figure out how to change their AI?
What?
No, 0% chance.
What?
So when you feed the pets, you have to have them at home. When you feed the pets and you let them graze, and you pet them, it'll tell you what their personality is, and depending on what you feed them determines their personality. Their personality determines their AI.
Yep.
That's basic.
You got Monster Rancher as a sub game.
/ Kenny's life. Whatever you feed him, that's how he's gonna like interact with the world around him. And when you pet him, you'll get good vibes or bad vibes.
Am I just an AI in somebody's video game? That makes so much sense.
So like
I'm a golem.
A nice tip is one of the pets you can get is a mimic, and it increases the rare item drop.
Oh,
nice.
I think it's like the squid fruit. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but if you feed it that, it makes it lonely. If it's lonely, it stays next to you, so its synchro effect is always active.
Okay, but I am not going to have a lonely pet. Smoking? I will not be okay with that.
Let's talk about what that even means, though, because synchro is another element of this battle system that we haven't even brought up. There's bonuses depending on which character is with you, whether that's one of the pets you've raised, or
someone from the story,
or one of the NPCs that you've like companionized yourself with them for like a chapter of the story.
Or if you had a friend load his save.
Exactly, which is insane, and we got to talk about the multiplayer stuff at its own point at some point. But that's like blow your mind kind of stuff. You can then have an effect where when you're in proximity to that other person during battle, like physical proximity, you like give each other a bonus.
Yeah,
I love that.
It's super cool.
My question is for Siegfried, because you're the only one that knows what you're talking about around here. Do these side systems have... Okay, so the orchard, the pets, all of these side systems, do they have like a significant... is there a reason to spend time investing in one over the other, or any of them, to make the game easier or more enjoyable? Because I mean, as people are hearing right now, it's overwhelming. To me, it is.
So pets are fun, but if you're going into New Game Plus and going into Nightmare Mode or No Future Mode, you're going to want an overpowered golem.
Okay. Every time Siegfried talks, he introduces something new
a new element
that I never knew about.
There were already so many layers to this onion that Nolan was already overwhelmed. And now he's like, that's not even... we haven't even gotten to below the iceberg on this game.
See, I was going to mention it when Justin had brought up like how quickly you can beat the game. And so, say you've played it a bunch and you just want really hard, so you just beat it as quick as you can, and then play in It's like I think no future mode is like everything's level 99. And
That's insane.
Nightmare mode is the less harder of the two difficulties.
Doesn't sound like it. Can we just go back and talk about the little cactus? Like, that's my pace of this game.
Yeah, the little cactus.
I never remember to go back and talk to him.
If you there's a cactus in your home, and if you talk to him after every event, and then you go downstairs, he'll sneak out of his pot and go record the day's events on a little leaf. And then you can come back and read it. Absolutely adorable.
That's great.
But that's my speed. I don't need Nightmare. I don't need no New Game Plus. What even is that name in the first place? I don't need all of these like variety of mechanics. I don't know how to answer. You weren't asking me, Nolan, but I think that this game, in the way that it's set up, is easy, and you don't need any of those things. Like, honestly, I was doing just fine and haven't bought anything or haven't smithed anything.
But you can.
But
if you want to go hard, or if you want to play it again for the 5th or the 10th time,
replayability,
and have it be completely different than any other time you've ever done it, you can do that. I love that about this game, because I want a game I can play and love and revisit and come back to, and it be the same but like totally fresh. And this is that times 10.
So another question that may invoke another tangent. Did anyone get any plunge attacks on their weapons?
No.
I
or
don't,
do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know. I think so a couple things. You have your in battle, you have your 4 face buttons on your controller. You've got one of them is your quick attack, one of them is your power attack. The other 2, along with your bumpers, can you get there? Freaking stop doing miming. You can assign those 2, 4, 6 other buttons to whatever kind of skills that you learn throughout. I don't know if one of those is plunge. In fact, I don't think it is, because you're asking if we got it on a weapon. So I don't think that I got plunge, and I don't think those guys got plunge, unless maybe I did.
Maybe because it wouldn't have explained it to me anyway. So I might have.
If you didn't do any tempering, then you didn't get one.
I think I did. The forging stuff?
Yeah, and it involves putting different cards on the weapon and generally flipping that card into another card, and it'll... Cause I don't know if all the weapons have 3 plunge attacks, but I know most of them do.
So so each of them have a different... Like, the plunge attack is distinct for that one weapon?
Yes.
That's cool.
Well,
that's like Dark Souls builds.
It's not exactly like there isn't special animation, but I believe all of the plunge attacks have some sort of like the reason I like the flail is because the starting from down forward and hitting what would be triangle on PlayStation. You do like an uppercut with the flail, and it gives you 2 bonuses to dexterity and a bonus to power when you do it.
Okay,
that's fighting mechanics.
No, I knew about the moveset. I was thinking movesets. I had no idea they were called plunges. But I really love that aspect of customization, especially for the weapon, because again, the replayability is crazy. But I like fighting game input style, and if they added that here, I'm all for that. I think that's sick.
We already said it, but you can choose from your 12 weapons. You can choose from a bunch of starting skills that you have that each then unlock better versions of those kinds of skills for mobility in combat or attacks. You can map all of your attacks or magic to pretty much any button you want. This game is wildly customizable, and so you can really play exactly how you want, including doing lots of limit break type moves, which I'm sure, Dustin, you went to quite a bit, being a Final Fantasy fanboy.
Well, the thing that's nice is that along the way, as you gain experience and levels, you get new abilities. You get new skills by using 2 other skills in combination with one another that will open up other skills. I got all the way to flip kick or something like that, which is a really good one because it does damage as it gives you space away from your enemy. And then you also get these skills, or I'm maybe not using the correct terminology, or abilities that you can use that are, I guess limit breaks, where you do a crazy cool like sword attack or sword effect and you build up that meter as you fight. We can't listen. There are so many different mechanical things here that it's easy to get bogged down on any one of them. I think it's fine for us to like pick out and choose, but I think for anyone that's listening, you just need to understand, suffice to say, like there are just so many, and we haven't even talked about all of the different mechanical elements of this game.
But no wrong choices. That's the thing. You're just building an adventure for yourself. I mean, some like things are more ideal or less ideal, whatever else. But the game's not like going to be punishingly difficult if you choose the wrong weapon, or impossible if you do fighting instead of magic. Like what you get to do is figure out what you like or what's interesting to you, and then just like drop it. And that's everything from the look of the map to the way you play to the layout of your buttons. You're in control. And you got choices for days. And that's super appealing to the people that it's super appealing to.
That was another reason I wanted to introduce this game, was because it was so different.
Yeah, wildly different. I literally, my notes on the show, I literally have a note that says, I don't feel like I get surprised that much anymore because we're 400 games deep into a retro gaming podcast. Like, certainly there's lots and lots of games. We haven't played all of them. We joked earlier that we're almost done, but like there's no counting the number of actual games that are out there. But we've had a taste of a lot of different things. This game surprised me. It felt completely unique. Sure, there's elements that are shared from other things, but it felt like its own thing. And I don't know that we run into that too often.
Aged.
I am very curious how long the development cycle for this game was. I couldn't really find it online. I'm sure it is. I gave up. But we have been obviously ranting on about how much there is to do in the game. And that in itself, I think, is a rare trait for a game. Even ones that we've given credit to for replayability or, scope or whatever. This one has... this one takes the cake for me. Easily. And you could argue that, like, I don't know, games like Civ, games like Diablo have more replay value, but they're different. They're completely different games. This is an RPG. So if you love RPGs... you had a lot of content to go through. So I'm like, how did they do this in a PS1 game?
It's very interesting to me that you brought up Civilization, because I was just thinking that in our conversation earlier.
Yeah,
because, like, yes, totally different game. But there are some, like, there's a Venn diagram, and there's a hefty chunk in the middle of those kind of things where there's so many mechanical complexities. If you want them, and you don't have to do them all, you don't have to know them all. But if you enjoy that kind of thing, there's a lot of enjoyment and replayability for you in that. I don't think that they had a rush development cycle, which might have been a bad thing for them. I know that Ichi had already done some other Mana stuff, and he came to this game and said, there's so many things I wanted to do in the other games but weren't able to do. But now that we're at PlayStation, we feel like we can do anything. We have so much space. They got down to the final 2 minutes of space on the CDs. Like, they filled that thing up, and we're almost like to the brim of throwing things on there. And what's crazy as, and we didn't even go into detail about it, I'm glad, but as crazy as the artifact and placing on the map and all of the different element system is, a quote from them, the director, it's not a quote, but I read that the director said that the land make system, that's what it's called, land make, was originally very different, and they ended up simplifying it for the final version.
Oh, right. Stop. He's just flexing.
They're dialing it
He's
back.
like, I made it simpler for you simple-minded folks out there.
He really had so many ideas, and he's like, what if we did this? What if we did this? What if we did this? And let all of the different teams do those things. And for some of those, great. But so many of them, I think the answer was always just yes. And when you have 4 yeses, 7 yeses, great. When you have 1,000 yeses, maybe some of those should have been no.
And it's the PS1.
Nah. It's just a good improv scene. It's yes and, but in the kind of way where you're making up the story as you go, and if you tell a good story, you're gonna love it. And I don't think there is a lot here. I don't think it's overwhelming though. Like, so much of that is optional.
But that's how you think. Oh, it's not optional for me though. That's not how I play games.
Yeah. That's not
And
how a lot of people play
Well,
games.
then that's your problem. not the
I know
designer's
I know
problem.
it's partly my problem. It's largely my problem. I like to complete games and I don't want to miss anything. This is not for that kind of individual.
No, I bet it stressed you out actually this week.
I
because
screwed
there,
myself
you can't
up.
do a run where you get everything. I just
You
realized
can,
that.
but you have to be very
can?
specific. No, maybe not. But you can do a run where you can do all of the events. And
Okay.
I followed a guide so that I could do as much
Same.
as possible. 4 hours in, 5 hours in, I realized that I started my placement on the map wrong. The very first placement. So the whole time I had been doing it was wrong.
Trying to do a thing that you
Dude.
couldn't actually do because of what you did.
And I just didn't know until many hours later. So this game came out in 1999. I found out something that I've never heard about before, which being a Square boy, I feel like I would have heard about this, but they billed the summer of 2000 as the summer of adventure. Summer of Square, summer of adventure. And in the summer, beginning with June, they released this game, Legend of Mana, followed in July by Threads of Fate, and topped it off in August with Chrono Cross. They released those 3 games in a span of just one summer. And the thing that I find remarkable with this one is that they decided, we're just going to still do 2D in a world now that is turning 3D. We don't care. We're going to do 2D. And I love that choice because because although I'm fine with 3D, I also love 2D, and that was bold of them to do at that time.
Yeah. I think it's a good in-between, this game, though, in the 3D era, where they're still utilizing the pre-rendered environments and stuff, and it's clearly like a 2D thing, but it still has that like new era feel to it, the same way that I would describe Mischief Makers on the N64, where it was still a 2D platformer, but it's on a 3D console. And so, I didn't know that either. The fact that in that same summer they had Chrono Cross, okay, then like they're like, yeah, let's totally commit to this.
I absolutely love the cartoony storybook hand-drawn graphics.
Probably my favorite thing about this entire game.
It's my second favorite thing about this game. I couldn't see anyone bouncing off of it because it is some of the most vivid, bright, beautiful, artistically designed. Like Final Fantasy VII has nothing on this when it comes to like the vivid worlds that were created in each of these different vignettes, these scenes in this game.
It looks way ahead of its time.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely beautiful, and that's not just the backgrounds and the pre-rendered backgrounds. That's with the characters and the animations. The bosses, some of them were massive and had so much characterization.
Yeah, filled the whole screen.
Filled the whole screen that you had to dodge around. They all had different abilities that they were performing as well. Like I thought that the graphics were some of the best of the era, best of the console.
Yeah,
And yeah, just remarkable.
I'm curious about Siegfried. You say you played this in 2002.
Yeah.
Okay, go back to 2002 really quick. Were you blown away by the visuals of this game? Because, I mean, it was a couple years after it came out, but still, like, were you like, whoa, this is unlike other things going on right now?
I mean, I liked the art style. Like, I thought it was very enjoyable and nice, but I kind of figured that, like, they probably put way more time into all the different mechanics and stuff that they put in, and decided not to go crazy with the graphics.
Like a full-on 3D, you mean?
Yeah.
Like immersive, yeah. No, yeah, it's a safer choice.
They're definitely simple, but
Vivid.
very artistic. Almost like hand-drawn, sort of storybook style.
Top there on
And
the
so
console.
Some people are gonna love that. I know it like resonated with all of us. If you want hyperrealism, or you're not wanting your fantasy to sort of come across as a a kid's story adventure, then like maybe the graphics aren't for you, but I think they fit perfectly for what they're trying to do in this game.
Mm-hmm.
I said that the graphics were my second favorite thing about this game because my first favorite thing about this game is the soundtrack.
Yeah.
I think that the soundtrack is one of the best of the era, best on the console, best in the This soundtrack is absolutely stunning to me. It was composed by Yoko Shimomura, who we've talked about before, who did Parasite Eve, who did Super Mario RPG, Kingdom Hearts, Live a Live. Like, she's phenomenal, and she said that this soundtrack is the one that she got to express herself most.
I love that.
So basically, she was just given free reign, and she had the images and the color story, the colorful storybook hand-drawn graphics, and she created this phenomenal soundtrack. I think there are so many. This would certainly be one that I would listen to outside of the podcast.
The fact that so many of these tracks came across my path before I touched the game, even thought about the game, speaks to how quality it is. I mean, some games, some composers are able to make soundtracks that kind of go beyond the game. And I'm not saying that like it doesn't fit here. It certainly fits. It's just so artistic. I mean, it's just too good. And I want to know like more of the later game tracks. I'm sure they go crazy. But I mean, just what I got was so good.
We mentioned it earlier, but there is a 2-player option, and it's so creative, and it's not a surprise that a Mana game would do this because Seiken Densetsu was multiplayer. They really opened that up. But the thing that they did here, which was really cool, I think, Siegfried, you mentioned earlier that back in the day, if you had your memory card, you could bring it to your friend's house and import your player character into that game, play along with them. And then even the experience that you gain playing with your friend, you could bring back to your PlayStation, and your character would have that level. You
understand that like the DS and 3DS era struggled to do that kind of thing? Yeah. Like, how did they do that?
Did you ever do that, Siegfried, with friends?
Oh, all the time.
That's so
actually, there's a battle arena in Geo, and my buddy and I would go there and just fight each other all the time.
Oh, that's so amazing.
Their willingness to take that extra step to put in multiplayer, to let you do cross save, playing together and the battle arena, to let you do pet raising, and in Japan at least they had a peripheral that you could do some of your pet raising outside of the game on that actual piece of hardware itself.
Okay.
Like they did
everything.
They didn't just go part of the way. They took every idea and just did it as far and as full as they wanted to. And I love that.
And even with the 2-player thing, you don't have to bring in your own person. You can play as the pet of your friends, or you get to play as one of the story characters that's going around. Like
you can just hand the second controller to a person and have them be like playing your NPC that's supporting
like Kirby
you.
Superstar.
Or you can, when you're playing alone, turn them on auto and let them just run around and do their own thing. It's just so flexible. It's however you want to play a game, play this game that way.
But I bring it up in age because it's harder to do that today, at least on this original console, because no one's going over to their friend's house with their memory card.
Fair enough.
However, there is an easy way to do it. Siegfried, have you played the remastered version of Legend of Mana that was released just a couple of years ago in 2021?
Actually, that's what I've been playing this week.
Nice.
Is it
I
faithful?
do have. Yeah. I mean, I think it even has that extra the pet mini game.
It has it in there that you can play. Yeah.
Yeah. I do have the original game still
Sure.
and my memory card. I just am missing cords from my old PS2.
I also spent most of my time with the remastered version this week. It's remastered, so it's not a remake, which is good because it's super faithful.
Yeah.
And they just moved from the 4:3 to the 16:9, so they redid some of the background so that you can do that. They allowed you to save more often, which is super nice.
Very convenient.
But basically everything else is the same. They beefed up the soundtrack a little bit, and they beefed up the graphics.
And that's what people want, or that's what fans want. They don't want you to touch their baby.
Also, 2 other things with this series, or with this game in particular. There was a manga adaptation in 2000. If y'all want to know, the boy is called Toto in that one.
So he does have a name.
I read.
Oh, I should have looked that up because I'd have named myself after the player
You
character.
shouldn't, because it's not good. I read the first
The manga's
chapter
not good?
or two, and I didn't love it, but I don't know if it was for me. But what I did love was the first episode of the anime adaptation that just came out last year.
Really?
It has some of the same music. It has the same storybook hand-drawn animation. It launched as the Julie arc, so it is is following along. The characters that were from the game, like the little like half pumpkin head character Duel that you
Love
come
that
across
guy.
early, he's in there, and that big like, what is she, like a coffee or
Teapot.
mug teapot character isn't. All these characters are in there. The lead character in that one is named Shiloh, so it doesn't really matter, but it's really good, and I'm going to watch the rest.
Interesting.
I'd actually forgot that they made an animation.
It's really good.
Wow.
Seriously.
They have invested
far.
so much over the years into this specific game. Like,
I normally don't care, and I kind of want to go watch it just from what you've said.
It's good. It's good. I would encourage you to. There are other games in the Mana series. The most recent, I mean, it's these remakes, right? Like, we've got the Trials of Mana remake that was in 2020. Secret of Mana remake was in 2018. You have a collection of the first few Seiken Densetsu games that came out in 2017. So yeah, there's a lot if you want to play in this series for you. If you want a copy of this PlayStation game for your home console, like Siegfried has.
yeah, how much is Siegfried?
Yeah, maybe he'll sell it. How much would you sell it for, Siegfried? Let's see how close you are.
I don't even know what it's worth.
Well, buckle up.
I don't even want to say a number.
It's only $20 used or loose, and it is $162 new.
That's so cheap. I thought you were about to blow me away.
No,
I thought this was about
no.
to be very expensive.
Not too bad.
Final thoughts.
At the end of each and every one of our episodes, we give our final summarized thoughts on the retro game of the week. I'll begin by saying that immediately I was drawn in from the opening cutscenes, the animations, the art style, the music. It was all working for me. I continued to stay in until I realized that we weren't going anywhere. Siegfried, you made it clear you don't play games for story. You kind of play games for the mechanical side of things. You don't. In fact, I would love to hear when you finally get around to it if you've ever beaten this game or if you just raise pets and raise an orchard. Is that what you do in this game? I love story, and I get really tethered to characters. There's a vast cast of characters here, but some you might see in a little bit, and then some you might not see for many hours afterwards, and your main character is nothing to write home about. It's just a little blank slate. The overall feeling is kind of that. I've heard this elsewhere, I think, but the feeling that I had is that of a scavenger hunt with limited clues and no prize at the end. I, of course, haven't gotten to the end, but I haven't been able to find all of those things. Because I think what you can have all the mechanics you want, but if you had one storyline that was tethered from beginning to end, I know that changes the game fundamentally, because then it's not choose your own adventure. So I don't know what to tell you. I'm not trying to tell the developers to do anything different. That's what I would have preferred. All of that being said, this is one of the rarest things for me. I think the music and the graphics alone carry this game. Have the legs to carry this game. And so I think it's something that everybody can enjoy. I think those that are more mechanically minded, Kenny, if you like Civilization 2 and you want to get into JRPGs, come play this game, because that's the perfect bridge for you. I still had a lot of fun this week and listened to, you heard from me. I read a manga and watched an anime and listened to the soundtrack in my free time. Wow. I can't believe that it's been this long to get me to actually play Legend of Mana. So thank you, Siegfried, for bringing it to the table. I had a lot of fun with it this week. Kenny.
The primary takeaway for me is something I already brought up. And I think you're right on a few points, Dustin. Soundtrack beautiful, visuals beautiful. This game just surprised me. There was depth. It worked so differently than anything else we'd ever seen. The building your own sort of map and kingdom, being able to make all of those choices. And unlike you, those choices didn't stress me out or overwhelm me. They just intrigued me for like more things that I can do and more things that I can revisit and more reasons to play this game more than once. I didn't get nearly as far as I would have liked to this week, which just means I have more to go and continue playing. And I definitely plan to because, this one got its hooks in me as well. Wow. I most of the games we play, I leave behind forever, and I don't think this will be one of those. So, very, very fun experience this week, and I was impressed.
That is saying a lot coming from Kenny that he's going to try to continue playing this game. Nolan.
This is the work of a madman, and I like art that comes from people like that. I'll give you an example. One of them being David Lynch and Twin Peaks and his various films. Insane. He's insane, and it just is beautiful and works. And Dustin, I'm with you. I think you're so right that this guy was like, someone told him, hey, all those things you wanted to try in the last games, go for it on the PlayStation. And he did. This reminds me of Saga Frontier in the worst way. I had issues with the game being so non-linear, and it was executed chaotically. I think if it was maybe described a little more, or there was a bit more hand-holdiness going on, it would assist me there. And the thing with RPGs in the first place, JRPGs, especially in this era, I find it hard to spend lots of time and energy if I'm not engaged with the story or something about the gameplay. And this game made me do the heavy lifting in that department. And so it kind of lost me early. After I was surprised, Kenny, I'm with you. I was like, wow. I mean, you saw the first play. I was shocked. And I think it's very impressive. I think the game is very, very impressive. And I love so many aspects of it. But yeah, it was just a weird week for me. So that's where I landed.
Nolan, this will not surprise you that Koichi Ichi, the director of Legend of Mana, was the planning chief of Saga Frontier.
Oh, I'm totally not
completely connected.
Yeah, he was onto something.
Which
sure.
I got the same vibes this past week. Obviously, that's why I did get the same vibes. I like both of them for different reasons, but I feel like
I bounced off Saga. Y'all know that about me, so it's just
And I get that. that because it is so different. And okay, but we're sending it over to the one who brought this game to us in the first place. Siegfried, your final words on Legend of Mana.
As far as Legend of Mana goes, it's hard to talk about it because I kind of have nostalgia blinders.
Sure,
that's fine.
So I mean,
that's fair. Nothing wrong with those.
As far as it goes, I am aware that like the battle system and the non-linear story are kind of hurdles for some people. I'm sure. Like the battle system is like I don't mind it, but I can tell that other people might think it's a little slow and clunky and not as fun as some other games. But that being said, I do think that there is something for just about any like RPG gamer or gamer in general that in this game you just need to have the patience to try and find it.
I think that is a good final word on that. And patience is not something that at least one of us three has.
I have patience.
You're making your own fun, so you will like this game as much as you are.
That's true. Yeah,
a good gamer.
You have to invest.
I do like calling it a choose your own adventure action RPG. Like that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, kind of a totally one of a kind game.
Well, thank you again for bringing Legend of Mana to discuss it and to bring it to our community. Speaking of, On YouTube, 53% of our poll said yes, it's worth playing today. 3% said no, go play something else, and 44% have never played it before.
44 have never played it.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. This came out in the States. Yes. Yes.
This one did, but not all of the Saga games before it did.
And that's where I think that number comes from, is because they weren't familiar with the series because of Japan.
Pretty low dislike number, though, unsurprising.
Sure. Yeah, very low. We had many in our community play along this week. Write in, give us their thoughts. Here are a few of them. Garlisle said, this entry in the Mana line certainly has a more unique sense of character, personality, and creativity than any I've played to date. Yet I think that's where my immediate praise for it ends. Your main character is seemingly a nobody without purpose. Your partners are transient, and the events around you can jump from jokes to murder without so much as a musical change. It leaves the entire thing feeling ethereal and weightless, like there's no ground to stand on for me to start caring for its narrative. It's a unique experience, but after a couple of hours, I couldn't say I really felt anything, and that's just weird.
Same. That's a good way to put it, Garlisle. I feel the same way.
Weightless and ethereal?
Yeah, I'm feeling that.
I just feel like it's...
I felt things.
I felt like it was chunky. I feel like there's so much here. I think that it takes patience and the willingness to create your own adventure. We keep going back to it, but you've got to have it. Shane said, this game is certainly unique. The way it has you literally build your own world is honestly mind-boggling, and though it's obviously there's still some structure in what artifacts you get, it's still crazy that you can get so much freedom in where you place them and even the area of the map it takes place in. The story mostly seems minimal and disconnected, though I've heard some murmurings that it improves many hours in. The battle mechanics feel relatively lacking, and battles generally feel like they become spam attacks, and maybe you're special when it's charged, though again, maybe that also improves with many hours. I definitely feel this game is worth a try by people. Easy NGP from me.
I like the battle system. I had no issue with it.
Siegfried, I don't know if you said this. Have you beaten the game?
Yeah, a couple of times.
A couple of times. Does the story ever become more front and center, or is it? I mean, I know obviously in the final act it will, but like, is it ever like a through line where it's a thing, or is it like how it's being described throughout?
I kind of remember you get to a point where, like, a certain narrative, I think, is kind of brought to the forefront, and you kind of... Well, I know the first time I played it, I suddenly got to the end, fought a big dragon, and realized, oh, that was the end.
See, if you can do that in an RPG, that's different.
Yeah.
Clint said, I didn't get much time to play this week, but my initial impression of most of these Square PS1 titles are always the same, and they're always incredibly positive. The 90s really was the golden era for Square doing weird stuff with games and making unique experiences. Live a Live, Valkyrie Profile, and the Mana games, to name a few. The art is beyond gorgeous. The music is a masterwork, and I can't wait to see more of it. It's exactly the kind of quirky game I can fall in love with.
It's the kind of game you revisit if you put down... like years later, you come back to it. I feel like Kenny is, I guess.
The only thing is, I think it would be easy to come back and be very lost as to what's going on because, there's so many different...
You gotta take notes.
Things, or talk to the little cactus after each of your runs. He'll take notes for you.
He'll set you straight.
By the way, he's in the anime. And as soon as the character goes downstairs, he jumps out. And the guy comes back upstairs, and so it freezes. He doesn't want to get caught taking notes. It's so good. One more. Land Ale said Legend of Mana had some very high points and some low points. The hand-drawn backgrounds and beautiful 2D sprites make it age incredibly well compared to other games of the era, and the music is absolutely fantastic. Due to the nature of the artifact system, the story is comprised of various vignettes, many of which can be missed without proper artifact placement, making a guide almost a necessity unless you want to do multiple playthroughs. The combat is very basic, which is unfortunate with the large variety of weapon styles. Most fights can be won by just mashing the X button. Disappointing after coming from the earlier Mana games. Overall, despite the downs and having more style than substance, Legend of Mana needs to be experienced. NGP for me.
Needs to be. I don't know.
I learned...
I concur.
a mechanic this week that I employed a lot, and I'll tune you into it if you're not aware of it, Siegfried. It's called power canceling. After you use your power attack, you're in this kind of stun locked animation because it's a strong attack, so it slows you down a little bit. If you hit one of the unassigned shoulder buttons right after you hit the power button, it cancels that animation, so you're able to just spam your power attack. Don't say it's cheating, Kenny. It's in game. You can use it.
I'm not saying it's cheating at all. I'm just not surprised that you found it and loved it.
Well, fun fact. I assume you're talking about the actual like weapon skills you get from each individual weapon.
That's like not what I just referenced with power canceling, but that is, yeah, that's definitely a system that Landale was just talking about.
Oh, what thing were you talking about with the canceling?
You're like heavy attacks. Yeah. There's a way to hit certain button combinations right as you're doing them, so that you don't get the little like pause stun sort of payment for doing a heavy attack. Basically, Dustin just admits on air that he's
cheated. He cheated,
and nobody cares. And nobody cares.
I was just confused because I think the only time I ever had like a pause or a stutter in my character was whenever I was casting magic.
I think it's a few strong attacks. Yeah, they put a little stun in, but that is Legend of Mana. We're setting it aside for now. Kenny's not. He'll come back to it. But we are going to randomly select the next game that we're going to be playing for the next 7 days. It could be any game, 15 years old or older. It's a game that was submitted by our listeners in our Retro Master list. Randomizing now. The game that we're going to be playing for the next 7 days was developed by Firaxis Games, published for the PC. Windows was Electronic Arts, Mac was Aspire Media, excuse me, and Linux was Loki Software. This is a spiritual sequel. This is funny. To a series called Civilization.
After we talked about it all day,
it's set in a science fiction depiction of the 22nd century. We are going to be playing for the next 7 days a game called Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri.
Are you familiar with that, Kenny? It's Sid Meier's?
Okay. I'm not, because it's not one I ever got into, but I knew about it like when it came out.
Sid.
I think it's actually a part of the Civ series.
The idea is, yeah, so again, I don't know well, I never played it, but the idea in the games, if you remember, if you do like space victories, you launch like a ship to go to Alpha Centauri. This is
continues?
Like what we do once we get there.
Oh, wait, that's a good concept. That's a good idea. But y'all have fun with that.
Sid also created Civilization 2. This is a sequel to Civilization 2.
Myers.
We're going to be playing the same game and just in space, and it's going to suck.
What year?
I couldn't be happier.
1999, so maybe they developed... The thing that made Civ 2 so hard is it was so archaic at the time, but maybe this is a little bit newer.
It was not. It was...
Hey, check out my list. By the way, I tier ranked all 400 of the games we played just recently, along with others in our community, and are sharing it in our Discord. Civilization 2 is pretty low on my list, Kenny.
I just lose more respect for you every single day.
Find a copy of Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri and play it along with us this week.
That's going to be a good episode. Join us in Discord. All you have to do is go to discord.gg/newgameplus.
We want to thank the many of you who support New Game Plus on an ongoing basis, including, of course, first and foremost, Siegfried. Thank you for taking time out to join us on an episode, to bring us a super interesting game, and to share and talk about it. We really appreciate it. And I also want to say thank you to our other director-level supporters, Bro Jim, Miss Muso, Super Hypered. And big news, the gang is growing. We got a new director-level supporter for the first time, dropping on the New Game Plus community this week.
Really?
We do.
Ooh.
So everybody say a big old welcome and thank you to your amazing support to Riff.
Big old thank you.
Raph. Welcome.
No. Don't add Raph. You don't know what kind of riff he's riffing. Also, thank you to our many producer-level supporters, including Adam, Alex, Amarlian, Antonin, Bin, Big Dude, Brunt, Garlisle, Gimbin, Hallex, Harold, J. Robert, Jake, Jared, Joey, Jordan, Justin, Kenny's Beard, Clint, Nick, Nat, Corey, Levi, Maxima, Metroid, Nolan's Old Mustache, Not Enough Dog, Orlando, Workin' Punch, Pedro, Sajan, Shane, Shauna, Psycho, Mantis, Thomas, Turtle, Unbedavable, and Zion. You guys are awesome. You want to join that ever-growing group and cast your vote for New Game Plus as something we're supporting? Head on over to patreon.com.
/
They'll get you all sorted.
NGP
/
podcast.
NGP podcast.
Everyone knows who we are.
And it's been a few weeks, and I haven't made a stink about it yet, but I'm about to. Kenny's Beard has been supporting us long enough. Nolan's Mustache has been supporting us long enough. If we don't have a Dustin one by next week, I'm out of here.
He's getting mad, guys. He's
Talk to your own facial hair.
I'm No Shave November. All right. You can follow us on social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, and YouTube. All of those links are in the show notes. Listen directly on any podcast provider of your choice. Make sure you subscribe so that you are the first to get new NGP episodes. And while you're at it, please leave a kind rating and review. Siegfried, do you want people to find you online? And if so, where?
No, that's okay.
Same.
Kenny's like same. All right.
I
Nolan's
get it.
like same, apparently. Our video episode was edited by our friend Dylan. Our audio episode was edited and produced by our friend Dan Willett. Join us next week as we play Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri. Until then, I'm still Dustin. No, I can't say Dustin. I'm still Lil Cactus.
Is that his name?
I'm still figuring out what my adventure holds.
I'm still Dustin.
Siegfried, who are you?
I'm still working on my logic blocks.
And this has been New Game Plus.